Why does it seem like there are no houses for sale? Some people are calling this a housing crisis, housing shortage. Where are all the homes for sale and how bad is it on a national level? Is this because of some sort of pandemic induced shortage? What's stopping people from selling and where will we find additional inventory to help solve this shortage? We're going to run through all of these right now. Hey there, Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. We've been helping buyers and sellers and tenants and landlords try to make the best decisions in these crazy days. First, I want to clarify that we're specifically talking about the number of homes that are for sale right now in this real estate market. So I'm not talking at all about demand, where all the buyers are coming from and how buyers are sucking up inventory. I'm talking about the level of inventory for sale. And another distinction we need to make is the number of homes for sale versus a shortage in the number of homes that are being built or the number of homes that are in the market. Those are two distinct things. Essentially, you can boil it down to housing supply versus listing supply. So they're both on the supply side of things, but we're specifically talking about the number of homes for sale when you're searching as a buyer or as a seller looking for a replacement property. We're specifically talking about the low level of homes for sale in the housing market. Just where we are historically for the number of properties for sale. Well, here's some data from Mike Simonson of Altos Research.
So you can see that we're a third of where we might normally be, half of where we've been recently. It sure seems to me like it will take several years to ratchet us back to the old normal.
They crunch housing numbers faster than just about anybody else out there. And this is a resource that a lot of real estate agents turn to. And I'd like to encourage you as a consumer to look at this data as well and request it from your real estate agent. Is the shortage in the number of homes for sale, is it specific to the pandemic? Is this something the pandemic induced? The short answer is no. I have a link to this article below that I found, and this is from December 17th, 2019. So this is pre-pandemic, very much pre-pandemic in the United States, which we didn't start to really see an effect until March of 2020. And you can see the title of the article, Housing Shortages, 6 Reasons Not Enough Homes Are for Sale. It runs through and shows several different reasons that there aren't enough homes for sale in fourth quarter of 2019. And what it talks about is boomers not moving, landlords not selling. Now, I do see more landlords who are interested in selling. They've seen the difficulties that other landlords have gone through or experienced it, so they may be interested in selling. Owners are hooked on low mortgage rates. I think this is a big factor, and rates have dropped since this article was published. And there's issues related to building new homes and the types of homes that are being built. So this is before the pandemic. This is something that had been developing for a while. And the chart from Altos Research shows the same thing, that inventory for sale has continued to decrease over time. What's stopping people from selling right now? Again, we turn to Mike Simonson with Altos Research.
The reason that inventory is so low, or one of the reasons, is over the last decade, mortgage rates have been generally falling. They've been falling for longer than that, but they've been really low over the last decade, 4% or lower. And what's happened is because the cost of money is so low, it's been a really good time to own. And it's a really good time to do things like, I go to buy my second home. If my mortgage is at 3%, I can just buy another home and not sell the first one. So now I keep this, now I have 2 and I have an investment property. This ability to build the investment properties, we've taken, like Americans have taken like 8 million homes out of the resale market and turned them into rental properties in the last decade. And each year, more and more of those happens. And most of those are individuals with 1 to 4 units. They're not big hedge funds. They are people going, and they're like, look, I'm buying the next one. I've got a cheap mortgage and I've got plenty of equity. I'm just going to hold on to that first one, rent it out. And now I've got my investment property and I moved to my new place. And enough of us do that each year that each year we take out a little bit of inventory from the resale market.
Essentially, what it boils down to is a lot of folks who become mom and pop investors. They hold on to a previous home as they move on and buy the next one because it pencils, because it makes sense at the low interest rates. Another big reason that folks are locked into their homes and not selling is because of capital gains taxes. Now, Section 121 of the IRS code allows for a primary residence to exclude $250,000 if you're single or $500,000 if you're married. Those levels were set in 1997 and haven't been increased. We have markets where values have gone up and exceed these gains exclusion levels, so some folks don't want to sell and have to pay taxes. And the number one reason I hear when talking to potential sellers is, where will I go? This would be for folks living in a primary residence right now. They don't know where they're going to move to next because inventory is so tight. It becomes a negative feedback loop and inventory continues to spiral down and down. So that's the toughest thing, is solving that riddle for folks, unless they just want to jump in and trust the waters to be able to find that next home they're going to move into. A lot of folks decide to stay on the sidelines as sellers because they're not sure of how they can get to another home, or the next home they'd buy would be even more expensive and cost them even more and wouldn't be much of an upgrade from where they are right now. And partially jokingly, I've talked to several people who say they couldn't even afford to buy into their neighborhoods anymore. So values have gone through the roof and made it very expensive for someone to move on to that next home. What have we missed? Let us know in the comments below other reasons you think that sellers are not putting their homes on the market. How can we get an increase in the number of homes for sale? Where will that inventory come from? There aren't many places where we're going to be able to get additional inventory. Certainly foreclosures will help add to inventory, but we're still not at normal foreclosure levels. We still have to catch up and get those to normal levels. And then it doesn't look like there's going to be any sort of flood of foreclosures, as a lot of folks who are exiting forbearance have equity and are either selling with equity or are able to hold on and figure out a way to make their payments again. We don't expect a big flood of foreclosures anytime soon. Investors could certainly bring more inventory to the market. We do talk to a lot of investors who see some of the tough times that landlords have been having in collecting rent, and either experienced that themselves or heard of others who have and have decided that now's the time to sell. The downside in this scenario is that in order for the investor to avoid capital gains, they have to do a 1031 exchange and roll into another property, which means that they need to have something else to buy. It doesn't have to be a house. It could be a different asset type, but they still need a different property to buy. And of course, we'll still get inventory from the usual sad stuff. That's death, divorces, and people aging out of their homes. It doesn't look like there's going to be a big increase anytime in the near future that's going to lead to a big cascade of inventory from this category. What that leaves is really the way to get out of this and to bring more inventory for sale is to build it. And this is helpful for two reasons, because it brings more homes for sale and it adds to the housing supply. So it actually kills two birds with one stone. We will, in some respects, have to build our way out of this. The challenge is, in many of the places that are most inventory constrained, those are also the most difficult places to build new homes. Additionally, we have labor shortages, material shortages, and it can be a long cycle before those homes are actually finished and brought to the market, again, especially in those constrained areas. But new construction will be the way to help solve the problem of not enough inventory for sale. What else did I miss? Anywhere else you see homes for sale coming to the market? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter. We cover topics like this for buyers and sellers and tenants and landlords, plus a whole lot more. And if you're curious how these inventory levels are going to affect the market in 2022, make sure you check out this Housing Market Predictions 2022 video we just finished. And we also have a link in the description below. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates, and we appreciate you.